Hey everyone, my name is Ronak, back with another video, and it has been a long time I have not posted any single video. And till now my channel has been, I would say, stagnant due to some of my responsibilities, and now I have decided, as the time is available for me, I would like to make some videos related to the DSA. So DSA is basically data structures and algorithms, and the importance of it is for the basis of interview preparation. So if anyone is preparing for any technical oriented interviews, this is going to come into handy. So this will be a very, I would say, small playlist consisting of a set of videos that will focus on the basic data structures and algorithms using Python. And I am emphasizing on using Python at the moment. But if you are a developer from, let's say, a background such as Java or CPP, you can also go for that, because the basics of the algorithms are going to be the same. And you just have to implement the stuff using your preferable language. But I am going to here use Python, and these videos will consist of all the basic DSA that is being asked for interview preparation. I cannot guarantee every single thing is asked, but whatever I know with my best belief and knowledge, and what I have learned from others as much as possible in the span of last 2 or 3 years, I'll try to share with you in this set of videos. So this playlist is going to consist of the things such as array, strings, recursion, and I would say stacks, a little bit of linked list, queue, basics of trees and tries if possible, and along with that some of the very frequently asked algorithm questions. So I will also emphasize on the Leetcode. So yeah, let's get started. So this is going to be the array basics video, and from now we will have to cover a lot of things with keeping in mind regarding the array. And if we talk about array is basically a collection of elements. Okay, so it can be any sort of elements, but if we talk about array specifically in the Python, you will have to go with something known as numpy. Right before starting this playlist, I would expect you to have a basic understanding of Python. I'm not saying a very deep knowledge of Python, but just a very basic understanding that how the list works, tuples work, dictionary work, and that sort of things. And even if you don't know a lot of it, it is fine, you can learn it from here. So array essentially is the collection of elements. Okay, so array is essentially a collection of elements, and these elements can be in any form. And since we are not going to emphasize on numpy, because whenever you go for any technical interview preparation, they usually ask you to solve the array questions using list. Okay, so all of the list oriented methods are going to come into the action over here. So list array, I would say, is a very broad and specific term, because there are a lot of terminologies that are carried out, because you will need search and sort, and you are going to have some of the commonly known algorithms such as sliding window and two pointers and everything, which we will be covering in the near future. But for now we will start with the basics of the array. So in order to create an array, you have to declare with the name of the variable, and you have to just put a square brace, and inside this you can just place your elements like this, and if I call it, you can see the array. So I'm using the Jupyter notebook. See, again, if you don't know Python, please go and learn from my other videos. Okay, I have a lot of resources, and even I would like to give you some links in the description box itself. And this specific Jupyter notebooks, you can easily have them on my GitHub repository. I will also give you the link below. So array, just like we said, you can have numericals as well as it can also have strings. So let's say this I would say is Python tutorial. Okay, and I can say array string, and I have it. This is Python tutorial. So some sort of things, and also you can save booleans, and here I can say, let's say, true and false. Okay, and if I say array boolean, I have it. So array essentially is going to store n number of elements, and array starts from 0. Always remember that when you count from the associations that you have the elements with it, you always say array 0. So whenever I call array, which is currently having 1 2 3, and if I say array of the 0, I can have the first element. Okay, so if you want to call the first element, you have to say array is equal to 0. I can also have array of like a very random numbers, okay, not just sequential, something like this. Okay, so like this. So this is my array, and if I say array and I try to call the 4, which is essentially going to be 5, since it starts from 0, so 0 1 2 3 4 5. So when you the point to the you reach to the 4, it is the fifth element, which is 9 in our array. And now there are a set of I would say methods that you can use on the array. Okay, so you can try something like, so if you want to add an element to the existing array that you have, you can say array dot append, and then you can pass the element. So let us say 1 2 2 3, and when I call array, it has been appended at the end of it. I can also remove it, so I can say array dot remove, and I can say 1 2 2 3, and if I see, it has been removed. And so a lot of methods are there. I'm not going to go into the detail of every single one of them, but this is the way you basically handle the basic insertion as well as removal. And now you can specifically insert an element in a particular position. So if I say insert, I have to first specify the position. So let us say the 0th position, which is the first element of the array. I want to insert 10. And now if I say array, the 10 has been added before 1, and all the elements are shifted to the right. Okay, so I can also insert this in somewhere in the between. So I can say array insert, and let us insert on the 4, which is essentially your fifth element, which is 1 2 3 4 5. If we see, it is 6, so we want to enter, let's say, 18. And if I say array, the 18 has been added before 6. Okay, so these are some of the trivial methods, I would say, associated with the array. These are inbuilt in the Python basically. And now we will try some basic operations with our array. So now if I want to, let's say, make a blank array, I can say I can make an initialization using list like this. And now if I say array, it is a blank array basically. And now I can also add elements into it using a for loop. So if I want to add, let's say, sequential elements, I can say for I in the range of let's say 10, I want to add the elements to that array. So I'll say array dot append followed by I. And now if I can check on the array, I get a sequential array. So it has stopped at the 9, even though I have given a specific range of 10, because it has started from 0. Okay, so whenever you reach 9, it is going to break the loop. And now you can also check the max element in it and also the min element in it. Okay, so these are all some, I would say, sort of trivial methods that you can try. And now let us try reversing this array. Okay, so which is very frequently, I would say, used thing. So reversing array. So you have to so you have lot of specific things or methods in which you can reverse this array. So we will first start with a very basic method. Okay, so you can say for I in the range of, let's say, the length of my array. Okay, you can also check the length of your array. Okay, so if I want to check length of array, you can check using length of your array, which is essentially 10. So for I in the range of the length of my array, I want to perform something. So here my task is going to be reverse that entire array. And in order to reverse that array, I am going to use two specific elements. So one of them is going to be the start, which is going to be 0, and second is going to be the end, which is essentially going to be the length of my array. Okay, so I can also use let's say a while loop. So I can say while start is less than end. Okay, so since till the time where my start is end less than the end, I'm going to try to switch these elements. Okay, so I can say array. So here I want to make some replacements here. So here I'll take start and I'll also pass end, and I'll just swap the elements. Okay, like this. So this is the most, I would say, trivial way in which you can swap the elements. And you have to always increment your start by 1. So this is essentially is equal to start plus 1. Okay, so a very programmatical way of saying this is like this, and I'm going to decrement my array. So let us -1. Yeah. Since I'm starting from 0, I have to say -1 over here. Okay. So I forgot to talk about that. And now if I check my array, it has been reversed. So this is one of the way, but there is an inbuilt method for this. So let us say inbuilt method, and the way you use it is array.reverse. And now if I check, it has again been reversed. Okay, so this is one of the way with which you can reverse the array, is basically you swap the elements. So you take one start variable that starts from 0, end variable holds the last position of the length of that array, and then we just swap the elements, basically increment the start, decrement the end. So this is the practical way to do it. Okay, if you want a very programmatical way, you can do it. And there is also an inbuilt method, and also you can use the indexing method. So you just put 2 colons and -1. Okay, so you again can reverse the particular array. So these are some of the techniques for reversing an array. Now we will talk about finding the maximum number of element. So maximum element in an array. So let us start with something like finding the maximum element in an array. Now you might be wondering that, okay, you can say, Ronak, we already have a max function for it. But I just need you to understand the intention behind performing some things. Okay, so in such a scenario, what you are going to require is basically finding the maximum number in an array, the logic that actually goes behind all of these things. Okay, so we want to focus on that. And in such a scenario, so let us start by making a function that can be actually like finding the maximum number. So let's say maximum element finder. So that is the name of the function, which basically takes input array as the parameter. And now you will have to first declare some maximum number. Now in order to do that, I'll just simply call import sys, and here I'm going to, let's say, if you want a very large number, let us understand the logic behind this. Okay, so logic behind this, you will essentially take a number, let's say, which is very small. Okay, which is very small, very small. So this is a number such small that no other numbers can reach this. Okay, this is the first thing. So this is, I would say, maximum capacity that your current system is holding for you. So let us say you will essentially take a number which is very small, and then you will compare the numbers in the array with it. Okay, so then compare the numbers in your array. Okay, and once you find a number which is larger than it, understand this, a number which is larger than it, you are going to just update that maximum number, that variable that is holding that current number. Okay, so this is the way you proceed it. Okay, so comparison, I would say comparison of the number, and dynamically you will update the number. Okay, so this is the logic that goes behind it, and for this we are going to use something known as sys, which has the max size available to us, and I'm going to take negative since we want a very small number. Okay, so here I am going to say negative sys dot max size. So try understanding the logic. Now we will run a for loop because we have to check for every element in the array. So here I'll say for I in the range which holds the length of my input array. So this is the function. Okay, so the variables are very specific to the numbers themselves. So if the maximum number that we have currently is lesser than basically the first element that has been spotted in our array, we want to perform something. So we want to essentially make that variable maximum number and replace it with the number that I already have in my array. That's it. And now I'm going to return that maximum number at the end of the iteration. So it is going to give us, so if we check over here our array, these are the numbers. So 9 is the maximum number in this situation. So let us just run this function, and since we are returning something from the function, I'm going to say outcome is equal to, let's say, maximum element finder, and we are going to feed it our array. And now let us see the outcome, and we have it. It is 9. So let us actually, I would say, try to make changes in an array. So let's say array.append, and let us say 14. Okay, so we will add 14 and it becomes 14. So this is the logic that goes behind it. And now I can also use something like this, so which is very trivial, but I wanted you to understand the logic that goes behind this. So since we are focusing on very rudimentary basics of the DSA, you have to understand how the functions that are readily available to us are working in the background. Okay, so that is my perspective. Similarly, you can find the minimum number also. Okay, so minimum number. Okay, so if you want to find minimum number, just like we selected a very small number, we are going to select a very big number. So here I'll say, so let us say def is equal to min element finder, which is essentially our function, and it takes an input array. And now I'll say min number. So this is a very I would say small number. Okay, so we are going to compare all the numbers that we have currently. So I'm sorry, this is a very large number. Okay, so I'm going to select max size, and now I'll say for I in the range of, so since we are running a loop, and here I'll say my input array, and now the way it performs is if the minimum number that we have currently is greater, okay, is greater than the number that we have over here in the array, you want to perform something. Okay, so colon over here. So I'm just going to update it. So min number is equal to array, currently holding my I, and in such a situation I'm first going to approach the input array. Okay, I'm extremely sorry for that. Okay, so whatever I have in my input array, since this was globally declared, it actually worked, but that is not the way. I made a mistake over here. Okay, so input array was on the both sides. So if I run it, it is going to stay the same. And here I want to just return that min number. Okay, so our logic is ready. So it essentially starts by taking a very large number, and if that large number is still greater than the number that I have in my input array, I'm going to update it. Okay, so now let us say outcome and equal to min element finder, and I'm going to feed it my array. And now here I'll say outcome, and we get 0, since the array has 0 as the smallest element. Okay, so let us try to remove the 0, and now let us check. So we run this first, and then we run our outcome, we get 1, since 1 is the smallest number in our array. Okay, so this is the way the minimum number in an array works. Okay, so now I want to focus on something known as searching. So there will be a dedicated video for searching, but if you let us assume that you want to search for an element in the array, the most basic way you can search is using something known as linear search. So let us say search element. Okay, and this is going to take an array, and it is also going to, so I'll say input array. Okay, so let us make it very specific, and a key. So this key is essentially the element that you want to search. Okay, and it will actually give you an index. So let me write it over here. So find let's say index of the element in the array. So this is the thing that we want to perform, and the way we do is, we first the most linear way to do is we will take the key and compare it with the every single of the element of the array. So for this we are going to run a for loop. In that for loop we are going to first take the single element, and then we are going to compare that element with the key that we have. Okay, so that is the most trivial way, and you compare and you compare until you will compare till the point you have found the element, and once you found it, you will break out of the loop and you will return the element. Okay, so that is the most easiest way to do this. So for I would say in the range of, which essentially starts with taking the length of my input array. So it will start all the frame from 0 to the length of it, and if my input array specifically when reaches a particular element is same as the key, the element that you want to find, I want to let's say return the key, or I would return the index basically. Okay, so we want to find the index where the element is situated. Otherwise I'm going to, let's say, return -1 if that element is not available with us. And now let us check our array. So this is our array, and now let us try searching 6. So if you check 6, the index of it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the element that the index should return, this function should return, is 5. So let us check for it. So let us say outcome is equal to search element, which takes array and 6 as the key. And now if I check outcome, it will say 5. So 5 is basically the index of it. Okay, so for this I'll print something like this. So let's say print, and I'll say the outcome, the index of the element. Okay, it is the index of the element, please understand this. Okay, so this is the way you find the index of the element. So basically this is a very straightforward search method. Obviously this is not well optimized, because when you go for a technical interview you have to look for something known as optimization, which essentially consists of something known as notations, where you check for the time complexity. So which is a very, I would say, used constraint, okay, to win. Because when they will give you something to solve, they expect that you need to have a very good understanding of the algorithm that you are working with, and you should be making it very time efficient. Okay, so those are the things that we want to focus on. And now there are again many things associated with the arrays, okay, whenever we talk about the arrays. But at the moment now I would like to cover something known as slicing, and then we will directly go to the Leetcode problems. Okay, so slicing. So this is where you take, so if this is my array and I want to print from a very specific length. Okay, so let us say I want to print the elements starting from here. In such a way I can say array, and I would like to print after, okay, after the 5, because 5 is the index. So if, so understand this is before and this is after. In such a scenario, let's say if I want to print the elements after the 6, and if I want to skip these elements, here I'll say skip till 4 and colon. Okay, so if I say 5, it is going to skip the first 5 elements, and so including the 5th element, which is the 5th, and it is going to print all the elements. So this is known as slicing. But now let us say if I say negative over here, in such a scenario it is going to give me the last 5 elements. Okay, so this is essentially slicing, and you have to practice this a lot because we are going to use it over and over again. So you put a colon and let's say 3 over here, you print first 3 elements. Okay, so it essentially gives you the ability to print the first 3 elements and skips every single thing. Okay, so it, after the colon, when it has entered, it is going to only print 3 elements. And now let us do something complicated, something like this. So if you check 0, 1, 2, 3, so from 3, 4, so 3, 4 and 5, the elements are printed. Okay, so this is slicing, very trivial. And now let us also again try to make this complicated. -3, -6, something like this. It is going to give us nothing. But now let us check over here like this. So it essentially gives me 6, 7 and 8. If you think about it, so it essentially starts from here, prints from 6 to 7 to 8, and it skips the last 3. Okay, so this is the way it works. And now let us directly start working with some of the Leetcode problems. Okay, so some very basic, I would say, Leetcode problems, and even after this I would include a lot of Leetcode problems in this notebook. Okay, so I am again telling you this notebook will be uploaded for you to use. Okay, so you will have that in the GitHub link below in the description box. You can just click on the link and have it. Okay, so starting with our first I would say Leetcode problem, which is basically built from permutation. So this is a very commonly used Leetcode problem. It is an easy question. Okay, so I have to select Python 3 over here. and this is the way it works. So you have to first make an account. If you do not have an account, please make one. What I would recommend, that if you are a newbie, try solving this question on your own. Okay, before referring this particular I would say solution, try to solve it. Let's say 15 to 20 minutes, that is the maximum time that you should take. If you are not able to solve, even after 15 or 20 minutes, you can check the solution that I'm now trying to give you. Okay, so it says, given a basic zero permutation starting from 0, build an array answer of the same length where the swapping is done. Okay, so what it does is, if you check the input, if you do not understand what is written over here, directly go to the examples. Here input is basically this array, and what they have done is they have replaced the values. Okay, understand this, replace the values that we have with the elements. Okay, so if we check on which particular position the array has the single element, it has been pasted. Let me give you an example of this. The best way to put this is try to understand using this second example. Here I have 5. Now if I take this as my I, and if I check on this array, the fifth element in my array, so array of 5, okay, something like array of 5 is going to be my 4 over here in that array, and that will be printed. Understand? So this is the way it works, and now we are going to try to replicate this. So let's say build array from permutation. Okay, so that's the name of it. So let me put it over here. Okay, so this is a very commonly and easy question. So I'll solve some 3 questions for you, and I have also given you the link of this question. So here now I'll start by making a class. Okay, since we have to work with the object-oriented programming, this expects you to know the basics of object-oriented programming. So we will just copy this thing. Okay, and I'll get rid of this. So this build array is going to, let me put this above. Yeah, so this build array now expects you that you check for every single element and put that element as the index of the array, and find the element that is available in the array and replace it. So I'll say result, so which is going to be your result array, first thing, and you have to declare it. So let's say list. Okay, and now for I in the range of length of nums, since nums is the input that has been given, see, try to understand the problem, how you are going to approach this. So we will build a for loop, and that for loop is going to check for the every element. So when it reaches in the first index, which is 0, so let me show you again. The 0th example over here is 5. So what they say, that now check that array with this element. So it is going to say, first the for loop is going to say array of 0, which is the 5. Then it is going to use this 5 to search for array of 5, which is 4. And then the new array is going to have 4 over here. Is it clear? So this is the way it is done. So building array from the permutation. Now I'm going to say holder, which is just a variable name. Okay, and it is going to hold my current array. Okay, and now here I'm going to add, to the holder. So the way I do it is, I'll say I in the result, and I'll say nums with the holder, and then I just return the result. Okay, my class is ready. Now I'll make a main method. So this is the way you execute it, or let me just put it over here itself. That would be better. So if name underscore underscore is equal to underscore underscore main underscore underscore, I have to perform something. So let us give it an input, and we'll take the same example. So let us take this. Okay, over here, And now first let us start by making the object. So solution, and then I'll call from the object. So I'll say outcome, or the way they have used it is the output. Okay, so we'll just say output itself. So output is equal to s dot build array, which is my function which takes nums. Okay, and then let us print that output. So this is where you can check. Okay, so something has gone wrong. Let us check. Okay, so the declaration has not been made. So in such a scenario, we will have to append it, let's say. So you will get a lot of problems and you have to tackle it and see. We have the output array. If we check now over here, it's exactly the same. Okay, it is exactly same. Now let us replace with this one, and I'll copy it over here and let us run it. Okay, so 0 1 2 4 5 3, and the output is same 0 1 2 4 5 3. Okay, and now this is the thing. So you can just copy and paste it over here in the Leetcode, and if you run it, you will have it. I'll also show you by signing in. Okay, so I've signed into my account, and now here I'll just copy this thing, paste it over here, and now if I go in the corner and say run, I can run this. Okay, so my all the test cases are accepted, and now if I click on submit, so I've already solved this. Okay, I get it. Okay, so it says beats 99.75% of the Python users and beats 92.22% Python users for the memory. And now I can also make some changes in this. Okay, we will try to save as much possible space as we can. So here I will say result dot append, and I'm directly going to say nums of I over here. Okay, so this is the way you can save some space. Okay, but since it was holding the holder and then I was appending it, so here I'll say again nums of I. Okay, so nums of I was holder and we were calling nums of holder to append. And now let us run this. It is running. If I submit it, it is done. Okay, so this is the way you actually solve some Leetcode problems. So this is the problem and I've given you the link, and this is the best way to learn it. So write every single thing, write the main method and try to solve it. Now we will take 2 more questions, and after that what I would recommend you is try by yourself. Okay, so I will give you a set of questions below in this notebook itself, and I would suggest that every one of you should try. Okay, so now let us take a new, which is the get concatenation. Okay, so now we have came to the second problem, which is the concatenation of the array. And now this is also once again the easy solution. So if we directly go over to the example and we say the nums input is 1 to 1. So if you concatenate, you basically copy it. So the best easy solution for this is you say return nums into 2. And if you run it, you will have a significantly working solution. Okay, but this is not, I would say, the way to do it. So now we are going to work with this, and here in the Jupyter I'll make the changes and let me paste over here. Okay, so concatenation of the array, a very, I would say, commonly used problem. And now I'll also paste the link for you. And now let us start working with this. So let me copy this class itself. Okay, so if I say return nums into 2, it is going to give us the solution, but it is not the way it should be done. Okay, please understand this. So now we will move with one very naive approach of working with this problem. I'll make a list 1, I'll make a list 2, and I'll also make an outcome list. Okay, and I'll specifically say list for everyone, so I can declare like this also. Okay, so 3 empty list for every single one of them. And now I'll say for I in the range of 0 to the length that takes for the nums, which is my input basically, and I'll say list1 dot append. I'm going to append every single thing that is available to us with I. And now here I'll say list to the second list, I'm going to append every single thing with the nums of I. And now at the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say outcome is equal to let's say list 1 plus the list 2. Okay, so these two lists are essentially same, and I'm going to say return outcome. So now I'll make my entry point, and here I'll say like this, and let us take the same example, which is nums is equal to 1 to 1. And now here I'll say output, which is a variable. So first let us make the class. So s for solution, and after that we will have to call that function, that is the method from that class, using the object s. So I'll say output is equal to s dot get concatenation, which basically takes my nums, and I'm going to print that output. It works, okay, which is 1 to 1, 1 to 1. But if you think about it, this is not a very good looking solution. See, it works, okay, if I copy and if I now go and check it over here, it is going to work, okay. There is no way it is not going to work. See, it works. I can also submit it, but it is not, I would say, a very good looking function. So we will now look at another method. Okay, so I'll just comment this out. It works. Also, this function will work, which is essentially going to be return followed by nums into 2. But still, that is not a practical way to solve this. And for this, we will work with a new function. I'll make an outcome list. Making 3 declarations is not a practical way of solving any question like this. Okay, just understand this. So I'll say for I in the range of length of nums, and I'll say outcome dot append nums, every element of the nums. And now I'm going to make one more for loop. So for j in the range of the length of my nums, I'm going to say outcome again dot append nums of mother j. And now I'm going to return the outcome. Okay, I get the same output. Now you might be wondering, Ronak, why actually we did this. In fact, we have 2 for loops over here. So why the declarations had a problem? See, if you make declarations, it is going to consume space, first thing. Second thing, if you think about it, if you know even a little bit of concept about the time and space complexity, I have 2 for loops, but these for loops are independently working. So first the I for loop is going to run, then the j is going to run. So it is basically not 2 into, so it is not n squared. If the time complexity, if there was a for loop inside another for loop, then it would be n squared time complexity. But this is 2n time complexity, since n order of n for 1 plus order of n for the j. So I and j are 2, so 2n is the time complexity, which is essentially order of n itself. Okay, so this is a very good looking solution. So you always try to do something like this. Okay, so now let us work with this. And now I'll run this solution. It runs very well. I'll now say submit. It has been submitted. So even though as a beginner it would be very difficult for you to, I would say, work with the space complexity, but try to reduce your space as much as possible. Okay, so making 3 declarations, then appending them, and then adding those 2 lists is not a very practical solution. So instead, using 2 for loops like this is a good solution. And also saying nums into 2 is not a very practical solution. Now we will look at a very commonly used program which is known as toSum. Okay, so this problem. And now there are many other ways to solve this. In fact, using array, this is going to be a difficult one. Okay, so the problem goes like this. You will be given an array and you will be also given a target. So you have to check the sum of the 2 elements and give the index of those 2 elements that add up to the target. Okay, so if my target is 9, it is going to go and check for 2 plus 7, 9, and it exits with 0 and 1, the indexes of the elements that are used to achieve the target. So this is the way it works. So the most common way you will solve this problem is using the arrays, and arrays are, in my opinion, not a very efficient solution for this problem. So this is not, I would say, an efficient solution. So let us first copy this to begin with. All right, so it takes nums and target. Nums is an array and target is the integer. And the way I would work with this is, first I'll make let's say a list known as outcome. So this is a blank list. Okay, and essentially now I will check using the two for loops. So first for loop is going to go with the first element, second is going to go with the element that is ahead of it. Try to add those and figure out if I have reached the target. If yes, skip from the for loops. If not, it is going to increment. So very basic for loop oriented solution. So for I in the range of, I would say, starting from 0 ends to the length of the array, which is nums minus 1, and then I'll make a for loop. So this solution will actually go in order of n square time complexity. Okay, so this is not an efficient solution, but still I'm trying to solve this using array. The ultimate way to solve this is using hash maps, which we will learn in the very later sessions of this playlist. But for now, try to focus on this, that this is going to require two for loops. So for j in the range of we will start from I, the first for loop, plus 1. Okay, so the next element that has been held by the earlier for loop, and we will go all the way to the end of it. So now it becomes very much easy. So if nums and I plus nums of the j is equal to target, I am going to say outcome dot append the index of I, because we require indexes over there. Okay, and outcome dot append index of j. Okay, and at the end I would return the outcome. Okay, I would return the outcome. So now let us start by making an entry point. If you don't know this, please go and check my Python tutorials. Okay, and now I will make an object for this. So s, and now I'm going to use the object. So let's take this example itself. We'll take nums and targets from here. Okay, so nums and target, and now I'll say is equal to toSum. So s dot toSum, since we are trying to call from the class, so s dot toSum, and I'll pass it my nums and target, and now I'll try to print the output. Okay, we have 0 and 1, which is exactly the same we have it over here. And we will also now check for this example. So 3, 2 and 4. Okay, so 3, 2 and 4, and the target that is given is 6, and we have it. Okay, so if you add first and second index, you get 6. Okay, so this is the toSum problem, and now I can just take and copy this and try to run it. So run, I click on run, and all three cases are done, and now I click on submit. So it is judging. Yeah, we have it. So it says only beats 34% of the Python users because the time complexity is high. Like I said, it is order of n square, and but the space is good, but we will have to work with this. So this can be actually solved using something known as hash maps, which we will learn in the very later videos of this playlist. Okay, and now we will proceed with our last question. Now this last question I am taking a medium level question. So when we talk about Leetcode, you have something known as easy, medium and hard questions, and if you want to crack interviews of very reputed companies, you have to work with more medium questions. Okay, so over here the medium question that we want to cover is basically rotation of the array. Okay, so you give it a k value and based on that k value it is going to rotate your array. Okay, so this is the problem, which is a medium level problem, and many companies use this. Okay, so this is more likely used. So it will take input as one array of numbers and a k value, and this k value essentially is going to rotate your array 3 times. So first it is going to take, so since it is 3, it is going to take 7, put that 7 in the beginning of the array, and it is going to push all the elements to the end. Then 2, then it is going to take 6 and rotate, and 5 and rotate, and till we have 5, 6 and 7 followed by the first element till 4. Okay, so this is the way it works, and it says in the problem, do not return anything, modify nums in the place instead. Okay, so they want a very space compliant solution. In such a scenario, how you are going to proceed with this problem? So there are two ways. You can either reverse all of the values and try to work with them. Okay, so I'll show you. What I am planning is two approaches to solve this problem. Okay, so first let me copy this, and first let me say rotate array, okay, which is your numerical, and let me give you the link also. Okay, so this is a medium level problem. Okay, so this is not going to be I would say very much easy, as you might expect. So medium level problems require you to develop intuition on a very strong level. Okay, so this is like the void function of Java or Python. Okay, so it expects you to return nothing. The function itself is going to call and then work. So I'll make a new function. So for now, let us just say pass. Okay, in the rotate function, and this reverse function will be responsible for reversing your arrays. Specifically, it is going to take input array, and it will require a start element and an end element. Okay, and these both will be in the int format, and while start is going to be less than end, we'll swap the elements. So we have already seen this. Okay, so start and end, we will swap the elements. So input array swaps over here, and input array swaps with the end, and I am going to increment the start. Okay, so we have seen this today, and it has been done. Okay, so our reverse is ready. Now in this rotate, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say self.reverse, since we are working with the classes, and reverse is a method, I would say a function inside my class, so I have to use self keyword. So I'm going to pass it my nums. I'll start from 0 and work all the way to the length of my nums. Okay, length of my nums minus 1. Okay, so I'm first going to reverse the entire array. Then I'm going to say self.reverse, and I'm going to say nums followed by 0, and I'll say k minus 1. And then again I'm going to call it, and I'm going to say self.reverse nums here from k all the way to the end of the array, and we have it. Okay, so what essentially I have done is, first I've reversed the entire array, then I use the k value that we have. So it essentially says, let's say the k is 3, and it is going to force you to swap the elements. So we are going to divide our array in the k minus 1 element. So all the elements to the left will be k minus 1, and that k will be like an element or an index that divides your array into left and right. So I'm going to reverse all the elements in the left first, and then all the elements in the right, and the combination will be done. Okay, so now let us try to run this. So let me make an object s is equal to solution, and now I'll say so this actually works in place. So we cannot see its value. So for such a scenario, we will have to just work and check for the nums. We will print the nums later on. Okay, so s dot rotate, which actually takes nums and k as the input parameters, and now I'm going to print the nums. Okay, so we have some problem. Unoperated operand for list and int. Okay, I said nums minus 1. Okay, so my bad. It is outside this, and we have it. And now let us check the output. It is exactly the same. Okay, again, so output is wrong. I'm sorry. So there is some issue with the appending. Starts and okay, right here. So it should be start. So in the swapping I made a mistake and we have it. Now it is exactly the same. 5 6 7 1 2 3 4, and here also it is 5 6 7 1 2 3 4. Now let us also take this example and we have it. Okay, so it is 399 minus 1 and minus 100, and we have 399 minus 1 and minus 100. Okay, this works. And now if I take and paste this, I'll paste it from here. And now let us run this. It works, but still we have an error. So what is this error? So there are something known as, I would say, base cases, and these base cases need to be focused a very on the higher priority. See, medium questions sometimes might seem very easy, but there are many constraints and base cases involved, and if you do not follow them you will get into a trouble. The reason is, if this k is, let's say, a very big value, in such a scenario we'll get a wrong output. So for that, what we will have to do is, we will have to find the modulus of it with the length of the array. If the array length has certain restrictions and the k value is very big, how will you tackle it? So running into an error is not permissible. Okay, so you have to tackle all the base cases. So there are many test cases involved in these type of questions, which all of them needs to be passed before you submit the question. So for such a scenario, I'm going to say k is equal to k with the modulo of the length of nums. And now let us try to run this. Okay, so this base condition forces the modulo operator to keep that k value inside the constant of the length of the nums. And now I'll say submit, and it works. Okay, so my solution is beating 99.44% of the Python users, and the space is also good. And there is one more modification that can be done using the list slicing. Okay, so I'll just comment this out, but please remember this base condition. I'll also mention it over here. Okay, so k, I'll say directly modulo over here, which is equal to k of the modulo and nums, like this. Okay, so that is the base condition that they use. But now we want to make some changes in our code. Okay, so another approach, which is basically going to be list slicing. So I'll say n is equal to, which is going to be length of my nums, because I don't have to write length of nums every single time. And now I'll say k modulo, which is my base condition, is equal to n, like this. Okay, this is the first thing. My base condition is ready. Now I'll directly start slicing the lists. So I'll say n minus k. Okay, n minus k equal to nums having like this. So again I'll say n minus k, and I'm going to just reverse this like this. Now I'll work in the front section of it also. So nums with n minus k followed by colon is equal to nums of n minus k, like this, and I'll reverse it. So colon minus 1. So this is purely, I would say, list slicing. And last one, I want to reverse the entire array. So now I'm going to say colon is equal to nums colon minus 1, like this. And now if we try to run this, the solution is exactly the same. Okay, even if I check for the other two, the first one, and I run it, I have it. Okay, so the way it works, I'll tell you in detail. Okay, because see, slicing requires a little bit of intuition. And for that, what we will do is, we will take this nums and k outside, like this. Okay, and we will try to work with them. So if I say nums, and first I'll show you colon n minus k. So I'll also have to mention n. So it is essentially my length of the nums. It is 1 2 3 4. And now putting colon minus 1, I get 4321. So I append that 4321 instead of 1234. That was the first thing I did. Now I'll replace this in the front. So n minus k. And now first let me get rid of this. Okay. So this is essentially 567. Why? Because I subtract the k value from n and I solve it. So I'll take only the pieces that are divided by the k. So the left and right, and then I'm going to use them. And now if I put colon minus 1, it gives me 765. And now this 4321 and then 765 are appended. So you essentially get 4321 765, which was this output itself. And now in the end, over here, you reverse the entire list. So this is a list, I would say, slicing operation. So whatever you have today learned in the lists, you have been completely able to do it. Still, I'll put a print over here so that you are not confused. Okay, for a better understanding, I would say. Okay, so first is this, where you had n minus k after it. Okay, so these were the outputs, and this actually works in place, so it has been appended already. And then when you say the final one, which is reverse minus 1, it is going to reverse all this. So it will be 1 2 3 4, it would be 5 6 7, and then 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4. Okay, so this is the way it works. And you can also use this solution over here. I'll say run and I'll say submit. Let's see if it passes all the test cases. Yes, it does. Okay, so space is not much good, but time is good, and we can also compare. So first we had like 74% beating space, and now our solution is 39%, but time, I think, okay, so time is also not efficient. So first solution was good. Okay, so you have to try some things like this. Okay, so we will stop over here, and you can have this notebook from the GitHub repository below. Okay, and in the next video we will look at many more things. So new type of algorithms, search and sort, all such sort of things. We will try to focus on them as much as possible. Okay, so I will try to devote my best effort and time towards this cause, because I even expect you to learn as much as possible. Okay, so this was the first video in the playlist of the data structures using Python, and also I'll give you a lot of practice questions in this notebook itself below. Okay, so you can practice them a lot, and you can just work with the arrays. So this was the basic understanding of array. Okay, so I hope you might have learned something or the other, and if you like my content, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get updates with all of the upcoming videos. Okay, so in the next video, even I don't know what I'll be covering, but mostly it will be related to the more array operations. Okay, so something like two pointers or sliding window and algorithms of that nature. So we will work on that. We might also work on searching. Okay, so we'll stop over here. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.